Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take on YouTube. Stephen A. Anthony Edwards had 22 points in Team USA's victory over Jordan earlier today and has already become one of the best up-and-coming NBA players. Take a look at what Paul George had to say on his podcast about Edwards.
It's pretty special with who he's becoming. To be ready at that age, at this stage, you putting him amongst the young stars he's going to be competing with for the next 10, 15 years, and now he's becoming the alpha of them.
S.A., where do you put Edwards among the young stars in the association?
Well, he's right up there, and I think he's right up there in terms of his great talent, but it's not just because of his talent, Molly, it's because of his attitude. I think that's the thing that we have to pay attention to as we really monitor these players and some of the things that are going on in today's generation of players with the money that's being made, with their unwillingness to participate in things like, the slam dunk contest and other stuff, that goes on to contribute to elevating the profile of the game. When you see a guy like him, it's one thing for him to be great. It's another thing for him to want to be great and to get the money that he's getting. But then he goes in front of a microphone and he talks about how guys need to play more and it shouldn't be about load management. If you're healthy enough to play, go ahead and play, et cetera, et cetera. These are the kind of things that are incredibly important because when we think about the greatness that has existed throughout the league over the many, many years that the league has been in existence, think about Michael Jordan, think about Kobe Bryant, think about some of the superstars that have graced the sport. It's one thing to be the marquee, Molly. It's another thing to want to be the marquee, to literally work to be the headliner. It's one thing to work for, you're trying to get paid and you're trying to get your numbers, but you want that star status. And so playing on the Olympic stage, in international competition, the world stage essentially, putting your skills on display, playing for a coach like Steve Kerr with assistants like Ty Lue and others on the bench and having that level of exposure and receiving that level of tutelage, knowing that you're the new face of the franchise. There's no longer Karl Anthony Towns, who we all respect and know can play, but it's really about Anthony Edwards. When you see that kind of stuff that's existing and taking place and fomenting before our very eyes, and you see an athlete like him willing to embrace that spotlight, that to me is an ingredient of greatness that's necessary, and I think he has it.
All right, I want to stay with the NBA. So yesterday, Miami Heat star Jimmy Butler pulled up to NYCSA with Latin star J Balvin. I need to pause for a second. First of all, I love J Balvin. Just watch his documentary. Okay. A little friendly game of pickup versus a group of kids. Butler, however, showed no mercy, posting on the little ones, arguing calls, all this good stuff. Look at this.
It's nice.
Just owning folks.
Nice shot by the little kid. Nice shot by the little kid.
Having fun out there. Yeah, messing around with the kids. Stephen A., what do you think about that?
Well, first of all, I've known Jimmy Butler for years. He has a tremendous personality. He's really, even though he's a rough rider, he don't take any mess from anybody. He's a really, really great dude. A humanitarian in a lot of respects that people don't realize. And he's just an all-around really, really good person. And so to see that personality and him vibing with the kids and all of that stuff is a beautiful, beautiful thing. I think what we have to recognize about a guy like Jimmy Butler, a guy that was once sleeping in his car, grew up very, very poor, had to go through a lot to get to where he is. He wasn't a superstar coming out of high school or college or anything like that. He worked his way up to star status on the NBA level, continuing to elevate his level of play. At the end of the day, he's graduated to a point, however, where we have to look at him and say, there's no championship yet. And the reason we bring that up, it's not in the negative. We're saying he essentially has everything else. He's been in the finals twice. I'm here to tell you, if he had never departed from the Philadelphia 76ers and he was a teammate of Joel Embiid, the 76ers wouldn't be on this drought where they can't get to a conference finals. They would have gotten at the very least to a conference finals by this point if they had kept Jimmy Butler instead of losing him ultimately to the Miami Heat in free agency. So I think about things along those lines, and the one thing that escapes you is the fact that he doesn't have a ring. He's not a superstar caliber player the likes of LeBron James or what Dwayne Wade once was or people like that. But he is a bona fide star in this league. He's a winner. He just has to get that championship that's what he has to play for at this point in time in his career, because there's nothing else that comes with it. And that's why you see those kids out there playing with him. It ain't just because he's an NBA player.
Yeah.
It's because he's
Stephen
a
A.
star that they recognize.
Let me ask you this. When I see Jimmy Butler and I think of Miami, I can't help but think about Dame and obviously the Heat acquiring him. Do they need a guy like Dame to take it the next step? And also, what do you think ends up happening with Dame?
I think so. I don't think that Jimmy Butler, as great as he is, I don't think he's a number one option. It's not because he can't be Molly, it's because that's not where his interest lies. He's not the kind of guy that wants to have the ball in his hands and to be the number one option in the first, second, third, and fourth quarter over the course of an 82-game schedule. That's not who he is. And so because that's the case, I definitely think you need somebody who's a bit more potent from long range and who's a bit more aggressive offensively to be that number one option. That would be Damian Lillard. Whether or not that happens remains to be seen. Portland's trying to play hardball right now. We understand that Damian Lillard sort of handicapped them to some degree by letting the world know that was the one team he wanted to go to instead of giving options and playing one against the other to sort of manipulate the proceedings to some degree and end up in Miami. But nevertheless, he is special. We all know that. And I think that he's given far than enough time to Portland, and he deserves to go where he wants to go. And I hope they make it happen.
Absolutely. All right, S.A., the other day on your podcast, a fan asked, what was your most memorable debate? And obviously, we've had some incredible, wild moments on this show. Let's see which one you picked.
I've had so many great debates. I'm going to tell you what my favorite was. My favorite was with me going up against Michael Irvin live from Dallas, where we were at that sports bar right down the block from AT&T Stadium, and it had 3 levels filled to capacity, and Michael Irvin stood up, and you had to give him towels because he was sweating bullets and stuff, and he was talking about the team, the dawning of a new day, and the crowd started chanting, Michael, Michael, and he started waving them on. That's what I'm talking about. That was, without question, my favorite moment in the history of doing First Take.
Okay, first of all, if I had to pick one, I would probably go with that too, Stephen A., because that place was so packed, like 3 levels of people, like it was a concert. And I remember just sitting in the middle of both of you. One would be standing up, the next dripping sweat. It was like I didn't even know what to do with myself. It was such a show. Look at that crowd.
It was sensational.
It was so much fun.
By the way, just as an aside, next time they show my podcast, because they put up the Stephen A. Smith show, that would have been nice. I can barely see it my damn self. But anyway, having said all of that.
The Stephen A. Smith show is also available on YouTube.
That's right. 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I do it live. But here's the deal. That environment right there, Molly, it truly, I sincerely mean this, it epitomizes what I want First Take to be. I love doing it in front of a crowd like that. I have an absolute blast. I wish we did it more often. That time outside of Dallas at that sports bar. I've been doing this show for 12 years. That is the greatest experience I've ever had doing First Take.
No, it's incredible. That was before the pandemic, and I miss those shows. My favorite shows are with the fans always. Real quick, I got an honorable mention just because this was hilarious. Remember when we did the show on the boat?
Yes.
We have the video of that. That was hilarious as well. I think it was just like, no, it was just more just like thinking about it. I feel like we were in a sitcom or something just on the back of the boat and like bouncing around. That was fun as well. We got a lot of fun moments on the show.
I liked it. It's just that I love the crowd. The crowd.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
what does it for
the
me.
fans, of course. Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to watch us Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. on ESPN, and more exclusive First Take debates right here on YouTube. We appreciate y'all, and guess what? We'll be back at it tomorrow morning. Hope to see you then. Bye-bye.